very much indeed. 7:39.
It's a devastating experience for any family when a baby dies before birth or soon afterwards, but in fact it is more common than you might think.
In the UK, 1 in every 200 births ends in a stillbirth, and 11 babies are stillborn every day.
And it means that stillbirth is 10 times more common than cot death.
Well, today, experts from around the world are gathering to share their research on new ways to help mums and babies. And one thing that may be discussed is whether ultrasounds should be offered to women in the later stages of their pregnancy to try and spot any problems.
Well, with us now is Dr. Alex Heasel, who's a lecturer in obstetrics at the University of Manchester, and Rachel Buckley, who had a daughter who was stillborn last year. Good morning to you both. Alex, let me start with you. How would having an ultrasound late in pregnancy help avoid stillbirth?
Well, the majority of stillbirths are due to babies being growth restricted, so not growing normally in the womb, and that's largely due to the placenta not feeding the baby normally. And so, logically, if the baby's not growing normally, the best way to detect it is probably by an ultrasound scan to see whether babies are indeed growing at the rate you'd expect them to.
But they're not routinely offered in the very later stages of pregnancy, are they? Which, Rachel, you believe might have saved the life of your baby.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
Tell us what happened.
It was nearly a year ago, January 2012. I was expecting my first child, first pregnancy, and everything went more than well. I had a very smooth pregnancy, no morning sickness, and we had no problems up until I actually went overdue with my baby. We went into hospital when I was 9 days overdue. I hadn't felt my baby move as much as she usually did, you know, a normal pattern. Upon going into the hospital, I was told, you know, it'd be fine. They monitored her heartbeat and she showed quite strong at the time. My partner and I had asked to be induced that day. We had the whole car packed with the baby seat and hospital bag, wishing that, you know, 9 days overdue, surely that's enough. You know, what can they do? But as I say, they sent us home and give us advice to say that basically only come back if you have any more reduced movements. Well, she actually moved, the baby actually moved a lot more than she ever did throughout the whole pregnancy, and we seen that as a good sign. I was booked in to go back into hospital 12 days overdue. I went in with my mum and my fiancé, were both my birthing partners, and upon being booked in, they were unable to find a heartbeat. At the time, you don't even acknowledge that, you know, something like this is happening to you. You don't think that in this day and age, 21st century, that your baby, you go through nearly 10 months of pregnancy and you're going to come out of hospital, you know, without your baby. It just doesn't comprehend.
And did you, what had gone wrong in the end?
Basically, she had no amniotic fluid around her, so that's how the baby breathes and gets their oxygen whilst they're in the womb. And there was no amniotic fluid, so when a woman's waters break, that fluid goes. But my waters didn't break and they hadn't leaked. So that would have been picked up on a third trimester scan.
Is there a connection between going overdue and the risk of a stillbirth, which would increase, therefore, perhaps the need for a scan if you've gone over your dates?
If you go a long way overdue, so certainly more than 14 days over, the risk of stillbirth goes up, and that's why in the UK we routinely offer induction of labour for mums to stop that happening.
I mean, when you say 14 days, but we're not sort of utterly precise, are we, about moments of conception?
Well, the placenta stops working, doesn't it?
So, in the first part of pregnancy, one of the first scans that mums have is to actually formally date the pregnancy, so we've actually hopefully got something concrete to work on, rather than, as you say, the less reliable moments.
The difficulty, I suppose, Rachel, is these ultrasound scans cost, what, at least £200 a time, and to give everybody late in pregnancy an ultrasound scan would place a financial burden on the NHS Trust, wouldn't it?
But what's the cost of life? You know, that's what the question is at the end of the day. an ultrasound scan would save thousands of lives. And, you know, if that comes down to money, then...
Does the financial argument make any sense to you, Alex?
I think we need to weigh that against the fact that a baby dying has a huge impact on mums, their families, their wider families and society as a whole. I think the really important thing is that we do some studies to prove whether an ultrasound scan will help. And if we do those studies, then we can wait, and it shows that there would be fewer babies dying, then it's something that should be considered financially.
And you are pregnant again?
I am. Pregnant with our rainbow baby. I am 16 weeks, and we find out tomorrow whether we're having a girl or a boy.
Well, we wish you the very best with that. And thanks so much for coming in and speaking so frankly to us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thanks. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Hazel as well. Thank you both very much indeed. That takes us to 7:45. You're watching Breakfast